Well, welcome to our first panel, From Patients to Pioneers, how female entrepreneurs are transforming and innovating healthcare. I'm Jennifer H. Cunningham. I'm executive editor of Newsweek, and I'm joined here by an illustrious panel of entrepreneurs. Firstly, we have Marilyn Simons, who is a philanthropist and advocate dedicated to funding basic science research. Mrs. Simons is an investor and board member of a medical device company, which is developing an alternative and superior technology for mammograms. She co-founded the Simons Foundation and serves as co-chair of its board of trustees. With more than 25 years of experience, she supports various nonprofit organizations in New York, including the Foundation for a Just Society International and Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory. She's also involved in K-12 education for underserved communities, serving on the boards of the Learning Spring School and the East Harlem Scholars Academy. She holds a BA and PhD in economics from the State University of New York at Stony Brook. We also have Dr. Tina Nova, and her career is marked by decades of innovation and leadership in biosciences and molecular diagnostics. As the former president and CEO of Decipher Biosciences, she led advancements in urologic cancer diagnostics, resulting in the company's $600 million acquisition by Veracyte in 2021. She co-founded Genoptix Medical Laboratory, guiding it through a successful IPO and acquisition by Novartis in 2011, Novartis AG, excuse me. Currently, she serves as the board of directors, on the board of directors at Azenta and Exogen, and as vice chairman of the board at Rady's Children's Institute for Genomic Medicine. Dr. Nova has received numerous accolades over the years, including the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Life Science Award, and recognition as one of the top 10 women in biotech by Fierce Biotech. Last, but certainly not least, is Tamra Laukien, who is the CEO and founder of Vitality Road, a startup focused on integrative health and functional nutrition services. She directed the Cancer and Evolution Symposium in 2020, which later became the AACR Cancer Evolution Scientific Working Group. Through the Laukien Science Foundation, she funds research and in cancer prevention, early detection, and innovative therapeutic strategies. Tamra is a member of the advisory boards for freeop.org, Independent Women's Voices, and the Atlas Network. She is currently enrolled in the Duke University Health Program and studying for the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching Certification to expand Vitality Road's impact. Please welcome the panel. So to start, would each of you just take a moment and share your journey into healthcare entrepreneurship and what specifically motivated you to get into the field?
Everyone's looking at me, so I'll begin. So, my daughter was born on the autism spectrum, and when she was very young, we wanted to understand a lot more about what was going on and how could we support her and help her have the highest quality of life and achieve all she could be. So my husband and I had started a foundation, and we decided that we would focus on basic science research, that would be the way that we would approach the problem, understanding the genetics, understanding the epigenetics, and what we could do. So that kind of was our first step into even focusing our foundation on basic science research.
Hi, everyone. Tamra Laukien. So my journey with really caring so much about health and wellness and the science behind everything started when I was a child. My younger sister, was diagnosed with cancer. And I really struggled to understand how me being the oldest and my brother being the youngest, the three of us lived in the exact same environment. We consumed the same foods, everything. I really didn't understand why she was the unlucky one who developed cancer. So that's how my journey started. I spent many, many years researching this, and more recently, I was personally impacted because I developed long COVID during COVID, and really needed to take an approach where I took ownership of my own health and realized that functional nutrition needed to be a part of that in more integrative health, looking at a person more holistically, and looking at prevention versus waiting until you have to treat a condition. So that was my initial journey.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Tina Nova. I think it started a long time ago when I was probably in first grade, and I remember saying to my first grade teacher, I want to be an airline pilot. And she said to me, only boys are airline pilots, Tina.
Oh, my goodness.
That tells you how old I am. But, and I do lie about my age. And I said, oh, really? Why? Yeah, I don't know. That's just the way it is. I went home and asked my mother. She gave me the same damn answer. Anyway, and then that happened to me several times through life, and I kept thinking, well, I was always one of those people, if you said no, then I wanted to do it. And so that was kind of the way it went. And it's like, I'm going to go into science. Oh, girls don't go into science. No, I'm going into science. So anyway, I started out as pre-med. I did some medical work at a clinic, and I also was working in a lab. And when I was at the clinic, I'm like, I don't really like hospitals and patients that much. I think I belong in the lab. And so, I say that kiddingly, but I really enjoyed the lab work and solving problems and coming up with ways to develop tests. And it was like putting a puzzle together to me. And I really enjoyed that, and working with a whole team of people to solve problems. And so for me, that was the right place. So I went into science from there. And no, I did not get to keep the $600 million that I sold my company for.
Thank you. Next question is for the entire panel. How do you see women entrepreneurs uniquely contributing to the transformation of healthcare? And are there specific areas where their impact is most significant?
I'm willing to start off here because I'm so upstream. I know that you can get very specific. So I certainly see in basic science that for years, even women weren't asked to participate in research projects. And I was really surprised recently to learn that even in mouse models, scientists prefer to use all male mice. I think maybe that started changing in the 90s. So if we want our health to be addressed, I think that definitely as women, we want to be able to speak up and have a voice about the issues and the symptoms that we're experiencing. So that's one important reason. Maybe I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I think like building upon that, when you start to think about just women's biology and women's health in general, there's a huge gap out there in terms of addressing menopause could be like one specific topic that I think is really important. And I think that women getting involved in leadership roles and starting to look at the way policies are rolled out, paving the path for women entrepreneurs to build companies, getting funding for those companies, I think that's really important to, I think women are going to play a pivotal role moving forward.
My next question is for Tina and Tamra. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced as entrepreneurs in healthcare, and how were you able to overcome them? And do you have, can you share any success stories or lessons learned?
How many can I tell you? Yeah, absolutely. When I started, it was a very long time ago, and there was very few women starting tech companies at that time. And one of the first investors came to my office, and he walked in and he said, "Honey, could you tell Dr. Nova I'm here?" And I said, "Oh, that's going to be easy." You're looking at her. He didn't invest, and it wasn't a great meeting. And that's a true story. So that was many years ago. He was a very old man. He was wonderful. He just, he meant it in the nicest way. But it really illustrates a point that it was very, very hard for women to raise money. There's no question. I think that having a PhD was really helpful to me. Because you get the most education you can get when you're out there and you're competing with people who may not, and you're in a science business. I think that was one thing. So I always tell women, get as much education as you can for whatever you want to do. And I think it's just not letting those things like the honey bother you. You just have to move on. You just have to just go to the next one and say whatever. And you know what? It's all about explaining what you do, being passionate about what you do, and showing them exactly that you can do it. And that's really what gets them. And they start out a little bit, I don't really know you, I'm not sure. And I do think women are put through more of a test than men are. But in the end, if they really see you're dedicated to this and you really want to do it, they'll take a risk on you. And once you get one, then you can get many. It kind of goes from there. So never give up. That's the one thing I would say.
Yeah, I would say my personal experience is I have about 25 years working in male-dominated industries. I was at Oracle back when there were very few women there, and then I was at Salesforce. And what I will say is that I would agree with what Tina said, is when you're in these environments, find a mentor. It's going to be a guy, typically in that situation, that really has your back and allows you to prove yourself, like believe in yourself, be confident, educate yourself, study. For me, I read everything and I was an expert. I had confidence because I had the knowledge. And then don't get caught up in the noise. There's a lot of noise when you're a woman, like she said. You'll have comments that are made to you. You might feel like it's offensive. Let it roll off your back, stay focused, and keep going. And I think that's really important.
Can I just add something to that? Because I was talking to a friend of mine who's in healthcare recently, and I know you said have a male, usually a mentor might be a man. She was saying, but it's also really helpful to have a female mentor who could help you navigate sex bias and help you with your networks.
Exactly. If you can find one.
Thank you, ladies. Next question is, how can the healthcare industry better support and encourage women in healthcare entrepreneurship? And are there any policies or initiatives that you believe could make a significant difference there?
So my friend who I was talking with, she was saying, well, there could be targeted awards made for women leaders. There could be like platforms that are put up digitally that will disseminate information to all people so that women could get access to these platforms as well. I think we have to think creatively. Also, I've heard about the possibility of government funds for projects focused and led by women, and also prizes. And I think prizes are very motivating for a lot of people. So there are steps that we could be taking and introducing so that people feel doors are opening. I think that's what we want to do, open the doors for the unique perspective women can bring.
Thank you. I wanted to go back to something that we touched on earlier in the panel, and that's the role of mentors and mentorship. What role did mentoring, mentorship, and also networking play in your success, and also maybe generally in the success of women in the healthcare industry? And can you share any personal examples of how mentors or networking has been a boon to you in your career?
Oh, there's no question. You can't do it without mentors. It helps you. They're not only your mentor, but they also become your references. And I think that's a really important point. You go to them for advice and to get some clarity on what you're doing and what they've done in the past and get some help. On the other hand, they see the passion in you. And they see why you came to them. And really, don't be afraid to go to people you don't know. You'd be so surprised at how many people reach out and say, you don't know me, but I've heard about you from so-and-so, and can I talk to you about what you do? And people are very flattered by that. They don't mind. So please don't be afraid to reach out to people you don't know as well. And some mentors you sit down with, you're not going to necessarily love what they have to say. In fact, you may disagree with it. But all mentoring is helpful. It's just like a bad experience can be as educational as a good experience can. And it's the same thing with mentors. And then you go talk to an investor and you say, oh, I know so-and-so. He's my mentor. And they go, oh, you do? And then they call them, and then that helps. So it really does have a feedback loop that really is very, very helpful. So I would encourage anyone. It's hard at first to just call someone cold and say, hey, will you come and talk to me? And some of them will say no, but you'll be surprised at how many say yes.
Yeah, I will talk about the networking piece. And when I was putting together the panelists for the Cancer and Evolution Symposium that we hosted a few years ago, I was reaching out to some of the top scientists and leaders in their field, and they did not know each other. So bringing them all together and connecting them into a network, it is amazing how the network, you're facilitating conversations between the two of them in a collaboration, and they start to view you as somebody who, you just become a part of this whole ginormous network. So you're connecting people, but then you're also connecting yourself, which helps open doors. And I think the most important thing is the follow-up. So when you get these connections, you need to get on LinkedIn, you need to send a note, you need to think about ways to send them an idea or an article to like keep that drip going and keep facilitating more connections, because that really helps elevate yourself as well when it comes to the industry.
Maybe on that note, maybe the two of you could mention, were there role models that you looked at or people you studied?
I think it's just my personality.
It's just my height and good looks. Just kidding. No, I didn't find women that were trying to really do what I was trying to do early in my career, but later it came. And now I see so many women starting companies and doing it, and it's just so exciting. It took a long, long time, and it took a lot longer to see women at executive levels, to see women on boards. Mm-hmm. I didn't see that for years. And, you know, a lot of companies would say, we have 50% women and 50% men. And it sounds like, wow, it's absolutely even. Isn't that incredible? But guess where the 50% women are? They're in the bottom part of the management team, and the men are at the top of the management team. So this 50-50 is, you gotta look further than just the 50-50, because that isn't necessarily true mix, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Very quickly, last question as we wrap up. What advice would you give to other women in entrepreneurship, in healthcare entrepreneurship, and women that are looking to make a difference in healthcare? And are there any resources or networks that you can recommend?
I mean, my number one is LinkedIn. Yeah. I think you can go on there and look up companies that you're interested in and individuals you're interested in networking with. If you try to reach out to them directly, it's very difficult to get in touch with people, especially at the highest levels in an organization. They have a lot of people protecting them. But if you send them a message on LinkedIn and you write something personal, it's a great way to connect. I also think going to events. So you're going to want to go to the industry events. You're going to want to be networking, meeting, shaking hands. You never know who's in the room. And I think that's a great opportunity, including this room right here.
So I would say, don't give up. Last night I was at an event where Caitlin Catalow was honored. She received the Nobel Prize recently for inventing the mRNA vaccine. And when she tells her story, it's wonderful because she happened to get fired from her job in basic science at 3 different institutions. But for every door shut, she found another door that opened. And when she was giving her thank you speech, she even thanked the people who had fired her because they made her work harder.
Well, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, panelists. This was very informative and enlightening, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you today. Thank you.